Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the NFL Draft Triple Take presented by UPMC. I'm Mike Prisuta, joined as always by Matt Williamson and Dale Lolley. We are your first line of NFL Draft speculation, and we're here today to take a look at round one of the upcoming NFL Draft. For those about to mock, we salute you, and we remind you as well that these are our opinions. What you're going to see expressed on this program is what we think, not necessarily what anybody else thinks. But hey, everybody's doing it. Why not us, right?
Might as well.
Let's dive right in and take a look at Dale Lolley's first 10 picks. If you're new to the show, this is kind of how we roll through it. We go by thirds, 1 to 10, and then the middle portion, and then the bottom third of the draft. So Dale, why don't you lead us off?
Well, we've already seen one trade with the Vikings making a deal to have 2 first-round picks now. I think they did that with the idea that they're going to move up and get a quarterback. So I've got that trade involved here with them going up to number 4 to go get J.J. McCarthy. I think that's not what I would give up for him, but you know, when you're a quarterback-needy team, you'll give what you need to do to get up there to get the quarterback. So I've got 4 consecutive quarterbacks going to start this draft, and then you start looking at some of the other stuff. The Atlanta Falcons, to me, are an interesting situation here. They could go a couple of different ways here. I've got them taking Byron Murphy, the defensive tackle out of Texas, at 8 as well. So, you know, I think the rest of it's kind of chalky when you get down to, you know, to the brass tacks here. But everything's going to hinge on what the Vikings do and who they make that trade with to get up into the top 10 to get the quarterback.
Yeah, it makes all the sense in the world. I did the same thing with McCarthy and the Vikes, but I had him going to 5. Very similar, though. I mean, Harrison goes 4 or 5. I mean, that's pretty much the same. Giants and Titans just sit back and gladly take Neighbors and all. That works out well. And like you, I had Atlanta taking the first defensive player off the board, and as well as Brock Bowers going to the Jets after they're older guys, but they just added 2 tackles, you know, as opposed to going tackle there.
Yeah, I'll make it unanimous on the 7th overall selection, Joe Alt going to Tennessee. Just every once in a while, there's certain guys that just look like they belong with a certain team.
Yeah.
And there's no science to that, but I think Joe Alt and Tennessee is a match made in heaven. I didn't include any trades in my mock here, mock 2.0. For those of you who are scoring along at home. And I probably like Drake May better than the other 2 quarterbacks personally, but part of what I've done here is to sort of guess what the teams might do, and part of it is just to slot what I think a team should do. There's not a whole lot of science to it, but boy, a lot of good players to choose from. To me, the real interesting one's going to be the Chargers at number 5. New regime, no track record in terms of what might happen there, so stay tuned.
Yeah, I mean, they could go a lot of different ways, and you know, offensive tackle certainly need. So is wide receiver because, well, they don't have any right now.
Yeah, more of those than tackles, though, as this thing
True enough.
Will play out. Let's go back to Dale now and check out picks 11 through 20.
I have with the Cardinals sliding back to that 11th spot with the Vikings taking Quinion Mitchell as the first cornerback off the board. And then the Broncos go with another quarterback that would be 5 in the first round and 5 in the top 12. If you're a Steelers fan, you probably want to see that.
Oh, you love it.
Yeah. And then some of the edge rushers starting to go there at pick 16. You see a couple of edge rushers go off the board in a row there. And the Steelers sit back and they get an offensive tackle in the first round. I like Fatanu. I think there were some questions about whether he could be a guard or a tackle, or whether he was a guard or a tackle. The arm length at the combine of 34.5 inches, plenty long enough for him to stick a tackle.
Matt, what's your take on 11 through 20?
Yeah, so Dale and I spend too much time together, obviously. I mean, I have Fatanu also going to the Steelers. I would plug him in at tackle, and if by chance he has to move the guard, so be it. But I thought I was being slick putting Bo Nix to Denver. You know, I mean, he's a lot like, I'm not saying he's Drew Brees, but he's a quick processor. He's very accurate. I think Sean Payton would love him. So I do like that fit quite a bit, although it seems a little bit early. And then I think Jacksonville and Cincinnati sitting there with those 2 tackles would be thrilled to get that kind of talent in the middle of the first round.
Yeah, Dale, you had a tackle going to the Steelers 20th overall. Matt, you had a tackle going to the Steelers 20th overall. Look at that.
How about
I
that?
have a tackle going to the Steelers 20th overall. I'm going back to the Georgia store. Amarius Mims, not the most experienced tackle of the wide variety available this time around, but something very intriguing about him. I've got Bowers going to Indianapolis because I think Bowers is an Indianapolis Colt. Just strikes me that way. And the Bengals, I've got them going tackle as well, but a different tackle. Some of these corners, too, I think are just too good to pass up. Terry Arnold and Quinion Mitchell, to me, are slam dunks if you have a big need at that position.
Yeah, they're both really good players.
They're probably slam dunks if you don't have a need at that position. They're still very good.
There's a lot of good landing spots for those guys, too.
Again, a lot of the same names that you guys had, just kind of in a different order. Dale, take us home with the bottom third of round number 1.
Yeah, I have the Cardinals, Mike, at 23 with that second pick that they acquired, taking Brian Thomas, so they get the receiver that they kind of passed over in the first round to make that trade down. Then you start looking here, some of the cornerbacks start to go here, a little run in this second half of this of the draft here. I just think, with so many good big bodies early in this draft, I think the cornerbacks might slip a little bit more than they typically would. And this is a really deep cornerback class. So I kept waiting to slide Terry Arnold in there somewhere. He was my number 1 ranked cornerback in this draft. Detroit makes a ton of sense for him. He's a kneecap biter, I think. He would fit in well there. And so, and then for Kansas City, why not go get another wide receiver as well?
I really like your fit of Barton to the Packers, and sticking with the interior O-line theme, there aren't that many teams that are really in the center market at this point. They got scooped up pretty quick in free agency, but I do think Dallas is one of them, and they end up getting the best one in the draft, in my opinion. I also had a trade, for with the Vikes, and they get their much needed receiver for the Chargers as well. Philadelphia always drafts big guys high. Lane Johnson's up in age, so that made a lot of sense to me too. And snuck Darius Robinson in at the end too, to the Super Bowl champs. He would do something on that offense or defensive line.
I love that guy.
Yeah, I like him a lot.
I think maybe the discussion about whether he's an interior guy or an edge might be taking away from the fact that he's really good.
All he
doesn't matter where you play.
Either one, yeah.
Looking at my bottom third, look at that. The Vikings get their quarterback at 23. That's why I didn't have any trades. They didn't have to trade. And Denver, you can get one later. Again, a lot of the same guys here. One of my favorite players in this draft, Keon Coleman, who spent his first couple of years at Michigan State, really broke out at Florida State, better quarterback situation, better team, and a lot of touchdowns. He had the slowest combine 40 time of his receiver group, but he had the fastest gauntlet drill time.
Yeah.
He's one of those.
Plays fast.
He plays faster.
He reminds me of DeAndre Hopkins a little bit, that he's just going to go up and fight for the football.
Well, you know what? He used to do a little fighting for the rebound.
There you go.
When he was at Michigan State, he played football and basketball. Not a lot of guys have done that. I like the Cowboys to do something splashy just because that's what they do, and I think getting the new record holder in the 40-yard dash, Xavier Worthy, is very apropos for Dallas. And I went with Kamari Lassiter to Detroit. I don't know if I necessarily think he's among the top cornerbacks available, but I think he's a Dan Campbell kind of guy. And as Lions proved last year, they go on their evaluations, not what everybody else thinks.
Yeah, 100%. And one thing I think is starting to show up with this draft is once you get past 25, 26, it starts to look like second rounders, and that's a bigger number than usual. I mean, usually the first round has 15, 16, 17 surefire first-round picks. This year's a little deeper with those guys.
Yeah, Robinson, another guy I think is just a Baltimore Ravens type of player. That's going to do it for this edition. I want to remind everybody that these are, in fact, our opinions. So if you're tuning in and enjoying this stuff, great. But don't read anything more into it than that's what I think, it's what Dale thinks, or that's what Matt thinks. We're going to keep doing this a couple more times until we hit late April, and it's time for the real NFL draft. I want to remind everyone also that you can find quality programming such as this on all of the Steelers' social media platforms. Until next time, for Matt Williamson and Dale Lolley, I'm Mike Prisuta. This has been the NFL Draft Triple Take presented by UPMC.